Eric Muathe, Muathe.com. Let's take a look at the chart for AMD, and this is a weekly chart, and we can see that at the conclusion of last week, the stock had a nice run up about 47%. And as we look into this week so far, the stock is down about 8%, but we can see here that on the weekly chart, 1 year weekly, there was a nice cup and handle, and this was the pivot here. This weekly closing high could have been used as an entry point for a breakout. So short term looks good in terms of breaking out to new highs on the weekly after a nice formation there, a nice base breaking out. Now, if you take a look at the monthly chart, 3 years worth of data, you can see that the stock, after breaking out here on the monthly above this recent closing high for late 2015, and also the fact that the RSI on the monthly is already trading at 3-year high, so that meets the minimum requirement for the RSI breakout. And also we can see here that the MACDs are already trading at 3-year highs. So this one does meet the minimum requirement short term, which might explain why the stock did well as of last week. Now, a couple of things are developing right now which could pose some type of a short-term resistance level for the stock, especially if you take a look at other parameters and other lines on the RSI. For now, it looks like there's a little bit of a problem here, because if you take a look at the fact that the stock is down about 8%, I want to show you what I think the stock is reacting to. A couple of lines here on a 5-year weekly chart. We go back to the previous break. So this trend line break here in 2014 brought the stock off the $4 level, and now after a couple of about 1.5 years is when we are going back to that general area. Now if you extend that break line in the RSI, simple line, you're gonna see that over the last couple of years, every time we hit that line, the RSI shows resistance, the stock pulls back. We hit that same level here, which is the highs of late 2015, and we had a significant pullback. Now we can see that over the last 2 weeks, including this week, we hit that level, and right now we are being recoiled back below the red line, which might explain why we are seeing a pullback. So around here, I think the chart is starting to show us that short term, this is a challenging spot on the chart, and maybe there's a pullback until the stock can clear the prescribed resistance levels. There is also another way of looking at this, which is the previous break. So we go back and figure out where the break took place, somewhere here. That RSI break brought the stock off the highs on a weekly closing basis for 2013. So we can draw a line from there. It should be slightly below 30 or slightly below 69.1, I was trying to say. Every time we did come close here, not quite, but that was a high. We touched that line here for the highs there, and now we seem like we want to move back below the red line with uniform action. Because it is uniform action, it generally tends to suggest that this was a turnaround situation and that the next meaningful swing trade is down. Now we can test that same red line by going backwards, and you can see that once we broke through here, we had this major top in 2012. So that red line has been a tail, and so we have two lines. And so the first one is this recent break line here that is showing resistance. In fact, we did back test it backwards this way, and you can see that it gives us a nice top here. And the other line is the previous break line on the weekly, and you can also draw it this way. So we are coming back. Seems like short term this is a problem for the stock. It needs to clear and needs to stay above those two red lines. Otherwise, around here you might see a significant pullback. In fact, if you also take a look at the price is also showing that this was the break level in the trend. This trend break is now being tested as of the close of last week. If you draw a line like that, you can see we closed exactly on the line, and now we are being pulled back. So this is legitimate resistance level, and the stock needs to clear all these resistance levels if it is to see higher prices. Otherwise, in my opinion, generally speaking, the stock looks like it is wanting to point down. Take a look also at the monthly long-term picture on the monthly chart for AMD. Couple of observations. Take a look at the high line connecting the RSI highs is coming into play right now. Simple line like that. Keep in mind this is March 26th. So as we come close to the end of this month, this might turn out to be resistance on a month-to-month basis as we begin the next month next week. So watch that line there. That's one layer of resistance that the stock is going to have to deal with. There's another layer of resistance coming back from the recent RSI break on the monthly. This trend line break on the RSI began this drop off the highs of 2006 in the 30s. So we draw a line from there. And as of right now, you can see that we are coming back to challenge that break line. The last time we came to this level, we struggled and we dropped, which was the high here on the monthly chart, and then this double top for the highs there. So again, you can also test that same line by going backwards. And one thing you'll notice that every time we move below the red line, like for example here in 2000, the stock dropped. We came here, we tested the red line and the stock dropped. In fact, you can check all these major drops in AMD and you can see that over the last 25 years or so, every time it pulls back below that red line, we see a significant pullback. So we are coming back to test that red line area. If we cannot move above that level, one can expect that on a month-to-month basis, the stock should struggle. So, in conclusion, what I would think here is the best thing to do is take a look at the weekly chart. And this is a 2-year weekly. What I would insist is that the stock break out above last week's weekly closing high. And so one can consider that the stock is now giving us a sell signal until it can clear 3.99, which is the close on a weekly basis from last week. If it can clear up that level on a weekly closing basis, anything moving it above 3.99 would suggest that it has cleared the resistance levels we are discussing here. Otherwise, net, it seems to me more than likely AMD, after a nice move over the last couple of weeks, last couple of months, from here to here, looks like right now until it clears 3.99, the major swing trade now is poised to be lower. Eric Muathe, Muathe.com. Of course, we shall see. Good luck, peace, and blessings. E-A-C-S. I am out. Woo! Yeah!